And another thing, there's been all kinds of crazy stuff going online about the blood types. How humans started out with one particular blood type, and then all of a sudden, magically out of nowhere, other blood types showed up. They didn't just magically show up. Science and human evolution have determined that the actual human body, this physical meat suit, may have actually come from a slimy, slithery thing that slithered out of the ocean, was a fish, then it grew legs, then it came on land, and it evolved, and so on, and so forth, and so on, and so forth, and so on, and so forth. Okay? A bear's blood genome is not going to be the same as a human's. A gorilla's blood genome isn't going to be the same as a human's. Okay? The point is that when our first blood type came, those first humans were hairy, nonverbal. They didn't have fire, so they didn't eat cooked food. Their bodies had to respond to protect them differently. And that meant that your organs behaved differently. They had different functions than they do today. Your DNA and your blood changed according to how our genetics were evolving. Eventually, humans started going out of the cave, walking around. And some of them got to really doing a lot of walking, and they ended up on other continents where they intermingled and reproduced with humans that they found there that were of a completely different genome than their group of cavemen humans were. I just don't know how to explain this where people are going to understand this. There's no conspiracy theory here. There is no science here. Is it alien blood? Well, let's explore that a little bit. Of course, I believe in aliens. I have told you my alien stories. I absolutely know that they're out there. But here's the thing. Anything that doesn't come from Earth is alien. Meteorites, space junk, falling stars, whatever. All of those things. It's alien. It's alien because it does not come from Earth. It is not familiar. It is alien. It is unfamiliar. It is not of this earth. And that can be living, non-living, organic material, whatever, okay? Now, as far as splicing human genes into alien genes, well, I wouldn't doubt that for a minute. And could that be part of the cause? Yeah. Even the Bible talks about fallen angels coming to earth, the Watchers, Nephilim, I believe those terms are a mixture of those, where they came and they took on human women and reproduced and created giants and created a whole new DNA genome. And of course, your blood's going to be different. It's going to mix up and things are going to be different. So to some degree, science can explain why at certain times during human evolution to get to where we are today, our blood types, new blood types were made. Because remember, if you and a couple of your people, were still, before we, actually split and became humans, we were still primates. And we were breeding and intermingling with other primates. And then they, if you look at how Neanderthal and Cro-Magnon man, how they actually separated, like these more sophisticated humanoids coming up, the Cro-Magnon got tired of the Neanderthal. I said, no, this ain't working. We're going over here. We're going to do something else. And then Neanderthal stayed where they were. They split. So there can be scientific logic applied to why there are different blood types that showed up at different times in the human evolution. And Could it be some kind of alien thing? Well, sure. Could be some kind of alien thing. It could be the fallen angels. The Bible talks about fallen angels, but does the Bible explain to you how that fits into us genetically today? No, it kind of wives off to something else. Because it's so easy to say this happened and then run away and hide from anybody countering your statement or wanting more information about your statement. Really, honestly, there are explanations, and that explanation isn't necessarily absolutely 1000% that aliens came down here and that the military has been snatching up humans and forcing them to breed with, or, creating babies in test tubes of alien human hybrid. There's probably lots and lots and lots of parts of our DNA that are unfamiliar, foreign, or also known as alien, because we don't know what it is. We don't understand it. There's junk DNA. There's all kinds of DNA that is completely useless today that kept us alive to get here today, that was necessary in prehistory. The most basic example is your appendix. In prehistoric times, when we were furry, pre-verbal, no-fire beings, they ate food that was not protected in any way. It wasn't cooked, wasn't preserved. They ate things that were toxic and poisonous, and in order to keep them from all dying and us not continuing our species, our appendix contained a highly toxic substance that would attack any of the poisons and toxins from whatever we were ingesting at the time to keep us safe. It was like a little barrel of nuclear waste that jumped in and eradicated anything that was going to be potentially dangerous to us to keep us alive. Then fire came to be, and we started realizing that at some point that they could cook food and that, tasted better, smelled better, and better for you than raw meat. And as we grew and evolved to what we are today from our first beginnings, the appendix became less and less necessary. So it's a stagnant organ, but if it bursts, it will kill you because it's full of all this toxic poison that originally was intended to protect us from things that we were eating that could kill us. It's no longer necessary because of how we produce our food, what we know about food, and how we prepare it before we consume it. So as we've evolved, it's become less and less necessary organ. Still there. It's still got toxic poison in it. But as long as it doesn't burst, you can live your whole life just perfectly fine. But it doesn't come into, it's not necessary anymore. Our spleens, pancreas, gallbladders, liver, they now process things because of how we've evolved. So simply because all humans, they believe, started off as, I think, O positive or something like that. And then whammo, some years later, all of a sudden these other two show up. Well, that family of furry cavemen living in a cave, they don't know that others exist. They have no concept of anything except today they have to find food and shelter and stay safe and get to the next day. They weren't aware that there might be other continents or other humans or other species of humans. We're not all the same. So there's no conspiracy here. There could be foreign DNA. Foreign DNA means that it doesn't fall into any of the obvious known accepted categories of DNA, or blood type or blood conditions that we have now. So it's going to be put in a pile of unknown. Unknown, which also can be defined as alien. Personally, I love believing in aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot. Why? Because I want to believe that there's something more miraculous and something more interesting out there than the human race. God, please, we can't be all there is. Really, it's scary to think, right? So it comes down to doing your homework, understanding that there are many layers of information that you're not getting from the internet. And that just because you hear it on the internet doesn't mean that it's fact. And that in order for us to survive, we need to start becoming more intellectually sophisticated. We need to stop believing lies. We need to start asking questions. We need to start looking through calm, logical eyes and understand that there is some truth and fact to every rumor, every conspiracy theory, but that doesn't mean that the conspiracy itself is real. People don't like to be wrong. People want attention, but they don't want attention such as, well, you're wrong, and now I'm going to explain to you why you're wrong. That's uncomfortable for all of us. We don't like to be wrong. So it's easier to shut down the facts and run with the rumor than it is to actually look at it and say, yeah, okay, let's look at this logically. It's important that we do. Because it's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's about common sense and logic. And that's what we have lost as a society. That's why we have these ridiculous rioters out there in furry costumes and whatnot. That's why we have such a division in our world right now. Because we're not willing to sit back and understand that there are three sides to every story: yours, theirs, and the truth. And until next time, do good and be good.